Hi, this is Inky35, and today I just wanted to talk about the snake god that goes by the name of Ningishita. Now, a lot of people have this belief that this snake god, Ningishita, um, is Jesus Christ. And I have listened to some interviews by some people, and this is completely incorrect. They believe that Ningishita is also the son of Anki, and that is also incorrect. Now, I'm going to explain in this video why Ningishita is not the son of Anki. I'm going to give true history, and I'm going to give the true father of Ningishita. Now, in Zecharia Sitchin's work, with all due respect, I know he's passed away and everything, Zecharia Sitchin has linked Ningishita with Anki. And saying that Ningishita is his son. But he's not. He's the son of Nanazu. Now, if Anki was Nanazu, then that would mean that Anki was Nurgle, or this god called Tishpak. So, who is the father of Nanazu? Well, let's see. That would be Enlil, and Ninlil would be Nanazu's parents. So in this event, if they were trying to link Anki as Ningishita's father, that would mean that Enlil was Anki's father. That's impossible. So these are incorrect analogies of these gods. And I'm going to show you why Ningishita is not Anki's son, and I'm going to show you how this demon lord, because that's what he is a lord of the demons. He is not Jesus Christ, and he is a serpent god. And then I'm going to show how people try to equate the Mashushu of Marduk with this type of dragon, but the whole thing with Marduk is that Marduk defeated the dragon. He is never considered to be a serpent god. But Ningishita is. He's called the serpent of the good tree. So what tree is that? The tree of good and evil. So everyone has this perception that Anki is supposed to be the great old serpent that is in the Garden of Eden. That wasn't him. He wasn't the great old serpent in the Garden of Eden. It was Ningishita, who's also known as Ningirsu. So, you know, a lot of people really don't get into all of these names and these gods, but I do. And the reason why I do this is because I find it fascinating to go back into time to find out who these gods are. And these are the Anunnaki. There's two sides. Just like some people say, you know, as above, so below, all this other stuff which people are so fascinated by it, but there's a deeper meaning beyond numbers also. Sometimes I find it silly. There are two sides, the right and the left. So I'm going to read right here who Ningishira's father is. It says, like his father, Nanazu, a chthonic god, Ningishira is associated in late sources with the snake, the Nirach, or with the constellation Damush. Probably a spelling for Mushatur, Bashmu, another Ophidian dragon. The written sources do not record a connection of Ningishira with the the Mashashu, but with the analogy Nanazu, Ningishira, or Marduk, Nabu, and late 3rd millennium art point to one-time existence of such a connection. The libation was vase dedicated by Gudea to Ningishira, shows two standing winged snake dragons holding gatepost with in between two intertwined supernatural snakes. They have teeth. And so you can look up the Mushatur Bashmu. On Gudea's seal, there's a drawing from several impressions. You can look at Douglas Van Buren. You can look up these scholars. And it says, Gudea is introduced to Ningirsu by a god with snake dragon heads growing from his shoulders. And apparently his personal god, Ningishira, while under the inscription, walks a winged snake dragon. And on the vase, the dragon has a scorpion's sting, but the impressions of the seal are unclear at this point. A similar introduction occurs on a fragment of a stele on which Gudea is identified by an inscription. An Ur-3 seal from Tello, dedicated to Ningishira for the life of Sholgi, shows an introduction to a god seated on an unwinged dragon with leonine hind paws instead of a dragon's head. The snake has, or the god has snakes growing from his shoulders. Now, there's some people that believe that this demon lord is Jesus Christ. And it just is mind-boggling how they don't see that this demon lord is a child of Enlil. And Enlil is Satan. This is who Enlil is. He is Satan. He's called the Lord of the Wind. He's called the Prince of the Air. He is called the Lord of the Command. And he drew his lot for the earth. This is what happened. This is what the ancient story says. So when he cast his lot for the earth. So he was cast to earth. all these beings and these gods that are under him are what is written about in the Bible. And in the Bible, in Deuteronomy 32:8, it talks about the sons of God. Now, in the verse on Deuteronomy 32:8, it's not talking about Israel. It's talking about the sons of God. Now, there are different gods in the Bible, and everybody knows who's been watching me that, I go over these gods, but there are several gods in the Bible. It's all about differentiating which gods it's talking about at the time. So when you're looking at El, because later on in time they try to call God later on Yahweh, which actually has something to do with Enlil, but the God of the Hebrews is not Yahweh. So let's get a grip here on who this God is. Enlil has 70 sons, and these are gods. These aren't the sons of Israel, because Enlil's children rule over all these cities in the ancient Near East. There was one God that chose the people. And if you go back in time, before the Bible was ever written, because people actually believe that Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible, but no, he did not, because Moses got these stories from the ancient Sumerian stories, the ancient Mesopotamian stories. This is where these stories actually came from. So Enki is the savior god. Enki means heaven and earth. It also means Lord of the soul. Enki is a creator god that created mankind. You won't see Enlil creating mankind. And some people try to associate Enlil with the God in the Bible because of the flood. So now that we have all of these writings and this knowledge, now it's time to differentiate who these gods are in the Bible and who actually is the destroyer. The destroyer is Enlil. He hates mankind. And so in that part, when this book was written, they were using these writings from the ancient tales, and they use the brothers all the time in the Bible. You always have the brothers. So these two brothers are called Enlil and Enki. They are a part of the Elohim. They are called the Anunnaki. And they drew lots. Enki is the Lord of the sweet waters. He's called Ea. He is the Lord of the living waters, the Lord of the soul. Enlil is called the Lord of the wind, the Lord of the command. He's Satan. So let's go down the lineage of his children. Zechariah Sitchin states that Nergal is a son of Enki. This is incorrect. again, with all due respect to Zachariah Sitchin, I like his books. I think his books are good. They're historical fiction, though. That's what people need to realize, that it's fiction. So even though he's using real history, so Nurgle is not the son of Enki. Now, do I believe that these beings that they're talking about, these gods, are, the Elohim? Yes, I do. I believe that they all are. And I believe that they are the rulers over these kingdoms, because obviously that's what the wars have been about, the wars of gods and men through all this time. So Nurgle really is this god called Nanazu. Now, in the Bible, there's a Nurgle of Katha. And this god is the father of Ningishita. So when people try to say that Ningishita is Enki's son and he's the good shepherd and he would be the one that would be coming back, that is the greatest deception. It's a lie. And people actually believe this. They believe that he is Jesus. But he's not Jesus. And they try to equate this because of the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. They believe that Ningishita was banished by Marduk because Marduk's supposed to be Amun-Ra, the hidden lord. And Ningishita didn't set his temple up in Egypt. And when he came back after he was gone for several hundred years, he comes back, and then Marduk exiles him to Mesoamerica. This is Zachariah Sitchin. And that's not what happened. Ningishita is a serpent. And he has two dragons, or snakes, I should say, coming out of his shoulders, and they have teeth. He is a wise lord, but he's not the Lord, and he's not Jesus Christ. That's another subject I'll have to get into, because of all of these things that are being, people are using a lot of Kabbalah. They think that these numbers and this Kabbalism, and like they think that this is the answer, and it's another lie. It's a huge lie. And it has to do with the family of serpents. Now, there are a family of serpents, and it has to do with Enlil, his family. He's Satan. His son is the devil. His son's daughter is Lucifer. So everybody's been looking for Lucifer with Kabbalism. They are looking for the light. They are blinded by the light as well. They don't, maybe that's what they want to find. They want to find that deceiver, and they think it's just the coolest thing, but it's not. It's a deception. It's the greatest deception of all. And these people are just so enthralled by what they think they have found. They are studying Pythagoras, and they believe that Pythagoras is Ningishita, and it's like, it's the serpent. And some people actually, they can love them all they want. But it's they're worshiping a demon. They don't understand. It's not a demon like black and like they're ugly, you know. They're beings that are beautiful, actually. And they aren't ugly. They aren't stupid. They aren't just, you know, but they aren't for God's creation. They work for one side. But, of course, there's one God on high, and even Satan has to bend to the will of the God on high. He hates the God on high. They tried to kill him, but he was resurrected. And if people think I'm talking about Jesus Christ, no, I'm not. I'm talking about one of the Anunnaki that existed before Jesus was ever born. And the story of this God that they wanted to kill existed way before Jesus. So they try to say that the Greeks said that Marduk died. Marduk didn't die. And of course, when people read that stuff, they have to know what propaganda is. They were trying to propagate their gods, Zeus and them, above the gods of old. So, but of course, they couldn't change the Babylonian religious system. So what they did was they incorporated their own gods, and even Alexander the Great admitted that they actually took and incorporated these gods into their pantheon, except, of course, named them different. He admitted it, because the Seleucids could not change the Babylonian religion when they were up in Syria. So we have Inanna, who is Venus, Ishtar. She is, of course, the Roman goddess. Aphrodite. Well, that's a Greek god, but she's Venus. That's the Roman goddess. But she's Lucifer. She's the light. She's also Mary. And this would be Mary, the Mary, mother of Jesus. So, if we're going to look at it this way, that would mean that Jesus actually has something to do with Dumuzi, the Good Shepherd, or Tammuz, the one that they cried and the women would wail and weep in the Bible. In the Old Testament, they'd weep over Tammuz. And this was a tale of the dying God. But the original story of the death and resurrection is Marduk. Marduk was resurrected, and the accuser was none other than Lucifer. And Lucifer is a she. Lucifer is not a he. Lucifer is Inanna. Inanna is a granddaughter of Enlil, who is Satan, because people need to know that Satan, the devil, and Lucifer are completely different beings. And also the serpent of the tree of good and evil, the great old serpent, is also another being. It's not the same one. And people actually believe that these beings are all the same being, and they aren't. And that's what causes the great confusion, because people don't understand who these beings are. So Lucifer, which is a later Roman constructed word, and she, Inanna, accuses Marduk falsely and brings him before judges to judge him, just like they bound him and they beat him and they brought him before a court, before judges, and they sentenced him to death. Marduk was bleeding. Marduk was beaten, which means that he was a being, and they beat him. And they entombed him. And Marduk was entombed in a shroud. And then the great judge, the Lord, the God on high, the great judge, resurrected him from his tomb. And when Marduk was released from death, he came back and he stood in the doorway of his tomb, or the entrance, with his bloody shroud, and proclaimed, once he rose again, that he was not a sinner, that the great God had proclaimed him not guilty and rose him from the grave. This is the same story of Jesus. Now, it doesn't have like all the gospels and all that stuff that the Catholics, put in there. The Catholics were very clever. They deceived a lot of people. They killed a lot of people with their inquisitions. They have lied to the masses to have control over the people. But the greatest deception of all is that they actually worship Lucifer. And Christianity has been the greatest deception ever. It's the greatest deception. They have no idea, but when they are worshiping Jesus and they are worshiping Mary, they are worshiping Lucifer. They aren't worshiping the Creator God, because the Catholics incorporated and also interpolated the ancient Babylonian text. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of people freaking out because of what I'm saying, but I've done enough research to understand where all this stuff comes from. Comes from the ancient gods. Now, it's up to people if they want to know the truth instead of living in darkness, being blind. Got to know who these gods are. You got to know who these demons are. You got to know who the deceiver is and who God is. I mean, so people are, a lot of people that watch me, I notice, are enthralled by Lucifer. I'm not enthralled by Lucifer. I think Lucifer is my enemy. If I was a god, I would destroy that being. She is a deceiver. She'll be destroyed, though. She's called the Whore of Babylon. This is the Whore of Babylon because she is the one who rides upon the bull. Who is the bull? The bull is Enlil, Satan. He's the sign of Taurus. He's one of the pantheon of 12. He is the leader of these other gods. Just like it says in the Bible, except it's, not the way people actually think of it. They do have names. There's a bunch of them. They have a lot of names. There's 70 sons of El. These are the Canaanite gods. These are the gods from ancient Mesopotamia. These are the gods that came over. There's a bunch of them. There's the Elohim, the Zumamim, the Anakim, the Raphaim, the Emim, the lowercase Elohim, and I just want to let you guys know that these beings are going to try to destroy man. Now, for the tale of the fallen angels, and people believe that the Anunnaki are the fallen angels. That tale would have something to do with the IgG and the revolt against the Lord of the Command. And it's not the way it has been depicted by the Hebrews. Of course, they learned this stuff from the ancient Babylonian learning centers. They were sent there during their captivity for disobeying God. So why would God send them to Babylon for disobeying him? Why would he send him to the place that is supposed to be wicked? Why is Babylon supposed to be wicked? Because the Catholics say that Babylon is wicked. Babylon was a center of great learning, and the god over that land was Marduk. So he sends the Israelites there, and they learned and they started writing the Bible. They wrote the priestly sources. They learned the ancient sources from Babylon. You know, they didn't know who God was. They thought they knew. They didn't even know who God was when they were in Egypt. They didn't know who he was when they were released. And people get offended because I say in Isaiah 45, that he says that they didn't, his own people do not know who he is. They never have known who he is because they didn't listen. They failed terribly, constantly. They worshipped Enlil and his children. They sacrificed their children to Enlil and his children, not to Anki, not to Marduk. Marduk is not Moloch. Some people think that Marduk's Moloch. No, Marduk is not Moloch. And then they try to say Moloch is Melech, which means king. No, no, no. Wrong. And Moloch was an Ammonite god, or idol, I should say, not a god, because he was an idol. And then you have the other gods, Baal. Now people think that Baal is Marduk, and Baal is actually Hadad, or Adad, which is one of Enlil's sons, born on earth. Nannar is the devil and is Baal's brother. Then you have Yahweh, which is another one of Enlil's children, married to Asherah. These gods have deceived the entire world. And they are, some people like, well, who's the Illuminati? Who's the Illuminati? Well, this is who the Illuminati is Enlil. The word Il or Ilu is God. And he is the Ilu, the Illuminati. He is Il, I-L in Arabic, and he is L-E-L in Hebrew, or Canaanite, Phoenician language. And he is LL. He is also, I mean, I can go into so many areas like Gnosticism and everything with these gods. And, I mean, that's pretty much where you get your Christian text, Gnosticism. And people think it's some divine inspiration in the New Testament when they just did that so they could say that the Jews were no longer the chosen ones, because the Catholics wanted that, and to say that the Gentiles now are the elect. No. What a ripoff, They ripped off the Hebrews' God, incorporated him as their own, to bring this great deception of Lucifer and his son. They worship Lucifer. Even in Revelations, um, 22:16 talks about the description of Jesus, that he has hair as white as snow, eyes of fire. He wears a white robe with the golden sash about his waist. His feet are like bronze. This is the same description of the Nakash. The Nakash is a serpent, a shining one. Now, in this event, when people are saying that Ningishita is Jesus Christ, yeah, because it's the story of Ainana and her beloved Dumuzi, the dying god. And it's a story and a mockery of Marduk. And Ainana is not Marduk's spouse. Marduk and Ainana are enemies. He's going to destroy her. So, according to the story, that's, things have been twisted so bad. It's just terrible. Anyway, I'll go ahead and I'll put some videos out on this. I know I haven't finished up my video on the Anunnaki gods. Well, I have it done. I just haven't put it out. I haven't put pictures to it. But eventually I'll get around to it. Just thought I'd throw this out. It gives people something to think about with these gods. And, people call them aliens. They aren't aliens. They might be extraterrestrials, because extraterrestrial means not of this earth. No, they aren't of this earth. But they came here. And even according to the Bible, God created mankind. One of them was the creator. And it states that Marduk created them from his own blood, and his father is Enki, the creator. And the original mother, which Ainana tries to represent herself as, because you see, she rose herself up into the pantheon. She rose herself up, just like it says, that tried to raise herself up above the throne of God, which is Lucifer. That's what it says about Lucifer. But she's not the original mother. And that's why the Catholics worship Easter, because Easter is Ishtar. And they worship Lucifer. They are literally Luciferians. That's why they even have a telescope named Lucifer. They know what they're doing. They have deceived the entire world. When they put this council together, when Constantine ordered a council of bishops, there was like 50 bishops that came from all over the world, and he told them to create a new religion. They were either going to go with Mithraism or they were going to go with Christianity. He went ahead and he had them to create this religion for his kingdom, so he could have this religion in his capital of Constantinople. And then we have Athanasius, which was the lead bishop, who ended up saying that Jesus wasn't just a man, he was God and man. So out of all these arguments and out of all these papers that they had formed and gathered together across the land, and all these people's beliefs, because some people were Gnostics, they took Gnostic works, they brought them all together. So how is that divine? How is that supposed to be a divine intervention when they had to argue about whether he was God or whether he was a man? So to stop the argument, Athanasius goes ahead and says he was God and man. Wow. So it's been a big, big deception going on. That doesn't mean that God doesn't exist, because he does. It's the religions that are the deceivers. It's the men that lied. Now we have the Great Library. You know, we have the Great Library back. And that's called the internet. It's the greatest invention ever. So, look up those names. Nanazu, the father of Ningishida. Nanazu is the son of Anlo, which means that Ningishida is not Anki's son. His only begotten son is called Marduk, and Marduk is called the Avenger. He's called the righteous son of the sun. He's called the Prince of Peace. He's called the divine king of heaven and earth. He is the Avenger. All these other gods that Zecharia Sitchin has claimed are the sons of Anki are not the sons of Anki. And I'm trying to figure out why he would do that, because I know he was smart enough to know that they weren't. I mean, because he literally gave some lectures on, you know, some of these gods, and people literally take his word for it. But when you start studying these gods, you're going to find out that they are not who he says they are. But anyway, I'll get into this later, and I'm going to go ahead and just conclude this. I just wanted to talk and put something out there for you guys, because I want you guys to think about who these beings are. And I'm going to go ahead and start uploading different stuff about these beings. But anyway, I hope you guys have a great week. Have a beautiful day, and I'll be talking to you soon.